Welcome to another edition of Track for Track, and I'm going to attempt to do this one for my latest album, Agent Ash, EYE. It was released on May 10th, 2026, which was Mother's Day of this year. Very, 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 very proud of this album. I'm going to attempt to do something a little bit different in this Track for Track than others. I'm going to actually play part of the song so that you can kind of hear, what I was doing in it. Um, Again, I'm very proud of this album. It is a sequel project. It's interesting. I said something in a content video where I was talking about it being my first sequel project. It actually isn't. 90-Degree Angle is technically my first sequel project because it is a direct reflection or continuation of 45. And so if I said, if I said Agent Ash is my first sequel project, it actually isn't. And I just thought about it the other day. 90-Degree Angle was specifically done as the result of finishing 45 and still having beats left over and still having concepts I wanted to run into the continuity of it. Agent Ash, however, when you start talking about storyline, it was I built a storyline off of the feverish analysis of the lascivious pursuit of Cash Lee. That album was released in October, like October 4th or 5th of 2024. And it was the project that set off everything else, even though I thought the Checkmate was going to be my first album. And still planning it out, still working on it. And I've since put out, 11 projects up to this, recorded albums up to this point. So when it comes, it comes. But the feverish analysis, just to give you a little backstory on what that was about. Well, first of all, it started with an instrumental project, The Justified Journey of a Nasty Nomad. None of this was planned. None of this was planned. When I made the Justified album, I was up in Colorado Springs. I was up there specifically, my standpoint, trying to finish writing and record the Checkmate album. So I was going to go up there, finish writing it, work on it, record, in the recording process and so forth. That didn't happen. It just didn't happen. I started working on making beats, and the beats that I was making just started to sound really good. I had a good rhythm going. It was like, okay, let me do another instrumental album. And that's what it became. So put it together. While I was doing it, I was kind of adding in little details just for like skits purposes, just to try to make it something other than just beats, just to add some little details to it. And even that wasn't planned early. Those things were typically done on the spot. I'm in there making beats. I go out to my van and it's like, okay, let me just record something and see what I can do with it, run it in my MPC, just to have something to kind of, fill it out, give it some structure. And made that album, and then I worked on other beats, which became New and Nasty Crumbs. Started working on this project called A Jazzy A Wet Dream, and all of these are like beat packs, beats that I'm making that have a cohesion. I'm either gonna rhyme over it or I'm gonna put them out as instrumentals, blah blah blah. So that's what the feverish was. So there was no plan to go any further than that, and if it was gonna be, I'll do another, beat project, maybe Justified Journey 2, whatever. But not even that was a concept. So it's really, let's just, focus on these beats, blah, 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 put it out. I put it out on my birthday, June 25th, 2024. And I was content with it, loved it, still play it. And now I leave, a couple of months later. I was in Colorado Springs for just a couple of months. And when I leave, I come back to the DFW area where I was recording with Killer, and there working on recording what I had from the Checkmate. And it just wasn't going how I wanted to. My posture, you know what I mean? I'm just getting back into it. At the time, Killer was engineering my sessions. So, that kind of, again, he's very patient, but it was me, how I was kind of feeling. And then it just got to a point to where he was like, well, I got to go do something downstairs. He was working, so I got to go downstairs and jump on this call. and he allowed me. Y'all have heard me tell this story before. He allowed me to kind of engineer my own sessions, just kind of work on it until he gets back. But that actually turned into me getting the hang of it, which I'm not new to it, but I mean getting reacquainted with it. And I enjoyed being able to do what I needed to do and so forth. Now, it's picked up since then. But that's how the Feverish came about. It was, okay, him having me, engineer my own sessions just to start off. And then me not feeling right about the checkmate. So I ended up leaving. I recorded a couple of things, then I left. And whenever I get into a block regarding writing or recording, I'll go and make beats. I get inspired from either listening to beats or making beats. And I just happened to work on this sample that I had already worked with. I pitched it down and it became Jolting Discrepancy on the Feverish album. So from there, it's like, man, I like how this sounds, that kind of grimy, mysterious sound. I was like, let me build around that. That became the Feverish. And it was like, well, I can't just leave it as instrumentals. Let me rhyme over it. That's how the Feverish was born. The storyline in it was, I'm just trying to do something creative. And it was like, man, what if I could tie it? What if I could tie it to the justified journey of a nasty nomad? So I went back and listened to those skits. You know what I mean? Talking about being naked, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. So I sat there, I was at a Panera Bread. I sat there and was kind of writing it out or typing it out, you know what I mean? And making sure that it fits, you know what I mean? Just like you would any Marvel movie, anything. You're trying to make sure the continuity is there. And once I got it, I was like, okay, that's really cool. And that's how it was. Now, what's the story in the Feverish? Because this builds to this Agent Ash album. The Justified Journey of a Nasty Nomad is an individual who was out journeying, living as a nomad, traveling, if you will, but he leaves his clothes behind. You know what I mean? So his captain sends him out there and tells him, you can't go out there naked. People will see you. That's how it starts off. People will see you. It's all a part of being a nomad. Matter of fact, let me play that since I'm doing this.
What are you doing? You can't travel out there naked. People will see you.
It's all a part of being a nomad. And nasty. And then it goes into the first track. So that's how it opened up. Again, I just, not knowing what I was going to do with it, I just opened up with that. And that pretty much is the only part that is really ran into the next project. When I get to the Feverish, I pick back up on, okay, this is Agent Cash coming back. And now he has a name. He said he wasn't named before. Now he comes back and he's debriefing. He's talking to his captain about what happened while he was out there. He purposely went naked. See, the plot twist is his captain didn't tell him to go naked. He did that on his own. He dropped his clothes and went out. He comes back and he's a little bit disturbed by what he did while he was out there naked. You get what I'm saying? Let me play it. Let's go to the Feverish. Let's take a listen. Well, look who's back. If it isn't Agent B Nasty, aka Cashley. So what happened while you were out there? Naked. I don't know. I discovered I'm way nastier than I thought I was. The stuff I did with women for cash was incredible, but almost inconceivable. It's like I was becoming someone else. See, that's what happens when you travel out there naked. I told you this would happen. I recorded it. You did what? I recorded it. Everything. All of it. Cash, I need you to help me analyze it. All right, so that's Born Under a Shade Tree Stump. That's the first song. but the return from the nasty journey. So you see what I did? I tied the two together. So now he's coming back and he's realizing him going out there naked. You find out that it was actually an assignment, him needing to go out there. But the naked part, I guess he thought he can get by with, and it wouldn't be that bad. It just shows you the weirdness of the whole story. But now he's back, and he's realizing, what I did, in this took me out there. You know what I mean? Like I was out there recording, porn star type of stuff. I was out there recording it and wilding out and so forth, and you know what I mean. And so here the captain is reprimanding him. Now, as you go through the album, I got my songs in there. Then there's another skit where, and I'll play it. It's called The Undress Address, and this is where two agents, so it just shows you this more expanded agency, are from an international division of the same organization. And the name of the organization is SHAFT, Strategic Headhunters Against Fraud and Trafficking. And so they're a secret, if you will, secret agency that, handles up on different things. And so they investigate and they go in and do what they need to do. And they're very strategic about it. You know what I mean? So here's where he's being, he's at a particular site. They find him because he needs some help from the captain. So you'll hear it.
Who is it?
Agent Cash? Who's asking? I'm Special Agent Brigg. This is Special Agent Rust. We're with Shaft International. The captain sent us. IDs, please. Thank you. Now, how do I really know you work for Shaft? Because gods don't do credit. What's this? You left a message for the captain and told him you needed another address for the suspect you were sent to interrogate. And you know how this works. Personal information is never given over the phone. Yeah, I know. But I wasn't expecting someone so fast. And what's this? It's what you asked for. Another address. It's just a picture. I already know what she looks like. The captain said, you and only you will know exactly what to do with it. Good day.
All right, then it goes into scuffing her muffin. And so, again, you hear these two agents, Agent Brigg and Agent Rust, and I just made those two names up. The cool thing was that this skit was actually done inside of my van. Most of my skits are, at least at the time when I was traveling and living out of my van, sleeping in it. And so the knock that you heard at the door was actually me knocking on my steering wheel or on my dashboard or something like that. I think I added the door swing, from some sound I pulled off or something. You know what I mean? So it's just really cool. Being able to capture what I want to capture and using different things to actually get what I wanted. And so here, obviously, Ash is being approached by two of his co-workers, or if you will, but they're from an international division, whether he knew it or not, that there is an international division. And so they're bringing him, he requested an address for a particular person of interest. And they bring him a picture. And he's saying, well, I already know what she looks like. Whether he had a picture or saw something on a computer screen or something. He already knew what she looked like. But the picture is pertinent to what he's supposed to do as far as addressing her. And you hear that in the Scuffing Her Muffin. It's about him actually getting into the picture from a three-dimensional, four-dimensional operation down to getting inside the picture and engaging with her. So it's just, it gets kind of comic bookish, quote unquote, if you will. And so that's what it is. And then he has to figure that out, and then I go through the rest of the album. It ends, and I can actually do the ending here, but I'm gonna actually do it with Agent Ash, because Agent Ash opens up with the tail end of the last skit. The last skit is really okay. He's shown all his footage, evidence, blah blah blah, regarding everything that's happened with to his captain. So he's talking to his captain. He said, what do you think about this? The gist of that skit is his captain lets him know that he's been tested. So whereas he went out there naked, comes back, and now he's feeling all disturbed about it, he didn't realize that while the captain didn't tell him to go naked, it was pertinent to the trip. You get what I'm saying? And he was letting you know you passed the test. Out of all the agents I had, you were the one who knew you needed to go out there naked. You know what I mean? And he was saying you passed the test, and he was saying, now Cash is confused. Now you set me up, blah blah blah. And he was like, yeah, we have this mission called the Checkmate, and it requires 2 special agents, and they got to be sharp. You know what I mean? They got to know what to do when, as though they have my mind. You know what I mean? Because you won't be able to communicate with me while you're out there. You know what I mean? So it's that type of deal. And he's like, but you got to agree to it. You know what I mean? And he was like, okay, I accept. And he was like, well, who's the other agent? He lets him know it's somebody I had hired before. It's a woman. And she's going to assist you, blah, blah, blah. Then he says to him, when she sees you, show her your hands. And that's where this Met intro for Agent Ash, she IRS, comes in. And I'll play it.
Previously on the feverish analysis of the lascivious pursuit of Cash Lee.
Cash. When she sees you, show her your hands.
All right, so you hear that's the last thing that that the captain says to Cash when he's leaving out. You know what I mean? He's kind of bothered by this, but he receives the assignment. Okay, I won't let you down, Captain, blah, blah, blah. And when he goes out, he says, when she sees you, show her your hands. You know what I mean? Whatever, you know what I mean? And I'm kind of working on what I want that to be. But it's that type of deal. Maybe it's something that, she'll know specifically by his line patterns, or something else going on there. But I just thought it was a cool thing to add in there. I will tell you this: the show with your hands. Y'all know I'm deeply spiritual. I used the nail prints of Christ. They shall mourn, or something like that. But I took that to mean they'll see the even and then it says even they shall look upon him whom they have pierced. You get what I'm saying? And so I took that to, look at his nail prints. They'll know that those scars were specifically done at their hands. By the way, it makes more sense to me now than it ever did. And so now we're into the Agent Ash album. Now notice the name similarities. Agent Cash and Agent Ash. There's some things I'm doing with Agent Cash. You'll find out some other things about him, you know what I mean, as I continue to build the story. But Agent Ash is actually the name of the woman who's assisting him, and she's sharp. You know what I mean? She's sharp, sassy, the sassy assassin, if you will. Very provocative, but very cunning and sweet and smooth in how she operates. And she gives him confidence. She's collecting for him. She's, if you will, rounding people up, setting people up. All of this is for him. You get what I'm saying? But they operate together. He works for her, she works for him. So there's this tandem. I'm gonna show you something else. So I'm spilling the beans. You'll only get it here for now. A Jazzy or Wet Dream, consequently, I'm working on right now. I haven't told very many people, if any. A Jazzy or Wet Dream I'm working on right now. Whether it comes next or not, this past week I've been heavy into writing for it, and it's coming along. It's going to be the off-duty operation of Agent Ash and Cash. So how they interact in a very leisure sense, but also, you know, while maybe chilling on the beach, they still got their eye out for different things. If, you know, if something comes up, they'll jump on it. It's that type of deal. You're off duty, but, you know, you're chilling, you're on vacation, but if some shit pops off, you know what I mean? I'm in that thing, you know. So that's what I'm working on right now. Like I said, it's coming along. It's a longer project, and so I'm just kind of, as it comes, you know, write a few bars here, put this story together, blah blah blah. So, but notice the name similarities, Ash and Cash. So they're a team, and the other thing is when it's somewhat mentioned, even though that's why I say I'm a prophetic MC, because I can tie it in even though I didn't intend to. From the Agent Ash album, there's a song called "And Suddenly Through the Back Door" that was originally released at the same time as The Feverish on the Prophet and the Prophecy album. I think it's track 2. And in it, it says, Grand Wonder Assist. This is how it opens up. Grand Wonder Assist. A tandem fame. Gunner and Gist. So claim fly. To that bitch laying under my fist. Pound for the effort. A planogram of thunder and wrist. And I go on from there. But it shows you the tandem fame. Even before I even planned to, you know, put the Feverish together in this way, that was all already there. And I can tell you why. Because I looked at me in the spirit of God that way. You know what I mean? Tandem fame. So anyway, so that's what that was. But it actually ties into this story. All right, so we get into the Met intro. Okay, that's where I did the opening skit. And it was made from a beat called Coils, Koillz, from I believe my Ruach series. And a lot of the beats from this album, at least 5 or 6 of them, were made within like 2 or 3 days. I went back and looked at it, and I remember a specific day. Quite a bit of them were made on the same day at a Starbucks in New Orleans. What do you call that area of town? West End. I was at a Starbucks over there, and a bunch of these beats were made. Consequently, that beat and the next beat, which is Agent Ash, which I called Coils 2 at the time, the Coils 2 was made from that original beat, so it wasn't there at first. And so I'll play it. We'll get just a little bit into it.
He looked at me and he said, everybody knows you're a beautiful, talented black girl.
Women
But what do I
embrace their
do?
love for their natural hair.
Talented.
It helps to undo generational hidden or covered up. Black women
We have an unconventional relationship. A lot of people don't understand.
Cash. Meet Agent Ash. The justified journey of the nasty nomad that led to the lascivious acts I felt trapped in, but seemingly instrumental and chief of relief at the feverish analysis, debriefing with the captain. Discovery was covered in shock, and it convinced me the undertaking's risky. No time to spectate, regardless of the color. How you moving on the blocks? The king's needing the queen to requiem on his checkmate. Cocoa butter sister that was sent to assist the Mr. Mystery Man, who's not only the plan, but the process and strategy, the mic and the music, the pushing and the tissue for the shit that hits the fan. Light on first night, triple take to an oasis. Second was a trip around the hips that are hazardous. Third was a wrecking of she dick in all places. My shafts like the math and scriptures mentioning Lazarus. Stone taken away, and with my breath to the left, it's alright and nothing needs to be modified. So if approval for me is a must to proceed prophetically, I can see that she is more than qualified. Order response interrogation had me engaging the real passion of Agent Ash. Was sort of a staunchly better patient, sort of rule attacking a dual knack for raising cash. That's every penny in prompt to be.
Okay, so let's point out a few things about that. Number one, I love the smoothness of the beat. I love that it sounds, obviously, because I use the same samples as the original opener, the Met intro, but it's different. This one adds a beat to it. Obviously, I love the singing that I do in between, which was actually just, it was written as bars, but I was like, no, I can sing that. You know what I mean? Kind of make it, hate to say a bridge, but somewhat as a chorus going into the next verse. Just to kind of break it up. The other thing is, what I love about this song is it sets the tone for the rest of the album. It ties in the first words, the justified journey of a nasty nomad that led to the lascivious acts I felt trapped in, but seemingly instrumental. You see, it was an instrumental album, seemingly instrumental and chief of relief of something, debriefing with the captain. You get what I'm saying? So I actually pull everything together in those first 4 bars to let you know what this is, who she is, how the whole process started, what the album was, and I do it cleverly in how it's written. You know, seemingly instrumental and chief of relief. How do I say it? Seemingly instrumental, chief of relief. Something, the briefing with the captain. So all of that is in there, and then I start really talking about, you know, what she brings to me, what my posture needs to be. I talk about her cocoa butter sister that was sent to assist. You know what I mean? Let you know she's brown skinned and so forth, and you know, me kind of scoping her out. You know what I mean? I can see she's more than qualified. I'm checking her out and what her body's like, and so it's that type of deal. And I say the border response. That's me going around her. The border response interrogation had me engaging the real passion of Agent Ash. A subtle response, better patience, a subtle rule attack, and a dual knack for raising cash. So, with sort of a staunch lead, better patience. By the way, her last name is Lee. With sort of a staunch lead, better patience, a subtle rule attack, and a dual knack for raising cash. And the raising cash is 1, collecting money, and 2, cash is a male member, erection. You get what I'm saying? So it's that type of deal. And so I really like it. It's short. The other thing that's interesting in it, when I recorded this in the morning. And typically in the morning, especially if I get started without like really prepping, sometimes I'll have some tea or something like that. If I don't do that, my voice is a little bit raspier. And you can hear that actually in both verses, and even both verses sound different. My voice is a little bit scratchier on the first one. The second one is a little bit clearer, but it almost sounds like it's 2 different people. And I was bothered by it at first. I started to redo it. Right when I was at the tail end of mixing and mastering, I caught it, and I started to redo it. But as I continued listening to it, I was like, no, I like the fact that it sounds like 2 different people. And I'm going to tell you why, or even partially, because this next song I'm going to get into, Wristlingly has it. I purposely do that on my first and last verse. What other one does it? I'm obviously in Consider Penny, and you'll hear that down. That's done with, you know, 2 different voices, one up underneath of me singing. So 3 voices. One of me rapping, one of me ad-libbing up underneath it singing, and then in the chorus I'm actually, you know, singing a solo over harmony. So you'll hear that when we get to it. And it's something that I think I started on the 45 project with the one language. I purposely did 2 voices, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's because I think that's what the verse needs, as opposed to me getting somebody else to do it and spitting my verse. Like if I want my verse to be on there and do the ghostwriting thing, but you know what I mean? So, but great opener, nice and smooth and mellow, you know what I mean? And goes into preps. It literally preps you for what this album is going to be about. So. Wristlingly. Wristlingly, I know for sure was made on that first day. In fact, it might have been the last beat that I made that day at that Starbucks. And he doesn't know this. And this isn't any shade for him not appearing on it. My original go-to for this song was John Mercury. Friend of the crew, you know what I mean? I haven't seen him in a long time and hadn't had a conversation with him in a long time, but we're connected on social media. I've reached out to him about some other projects I was working on or whatever. But when I made this beat, which is one of the reasons you hear me singing, he is heavily, heavily instrumental. Between him and Fonte, who I'm not directly connected with, but between him and Fonte, maybe a little Drake, whether directly influenced or just, me giving kudos for actually doing it. People who can actually spit dope ass bars and sing. Even before I knew of Fonte, Merc was doing that. You know what I mean? And I've said it to him before. I maybe put it in a video or something. Heavily, and a lot of people don't know what I get from them, but heavily instrumental in the soul that he brought to tracks way when we were early getting started. At least me and when we were starting to do mixtapes and so forth. So when I made this beat, I originally wanted him on it. This particular song, Rislini, I was back and forth about, even though it was on the beat pack. It was one of the last songs to actually get done, because I was trying to see if it would actually fit in the album from a sonic standpoint. But yeah, Merc was the original, who I wanted. Now again, if I do a remix, blah blah blah, and that was no shade of me not putting him on it. My thought process was just from the sound standpoint. There was no real, actually there was a concept. I started writing that day. Before it was called Rislini, I forgot what the concept was, but I do remember starting to write it. You know what I mean? And I could hear his voice rapping and kind of singing on it and so forth. What ended up happening, again, months go by before I actually start getting into the album. And I got to throw this information in here just because I said that. I'm literally doing it right here in the Rislini track. These beats, and I've said it on content videos, were not for Agent Ash. These beats were for an album I was doing at the same time as Agent Ash, starting off, just packing the beats together and kind of conceptualizing. These beats were for a project I was doing called The Pressure Prince. And had the beats together, and I was going back and forth between both of them, just, as the inspiration came. I would write some bars here, put 8 bars here, maybe get a full 16 done here, blah, blah, blah. And so I was writing more for Pressure Prince, writing more for Agent Ash, what would have been Agent Ash, those beats over there, more boom bap-ish, some of them kind of up-tempo. So when you hear that album, one day I was leaving the apartment, and I specifically heard in my spirit, switch them. What? Switch the whole thing, switch the beat packs. So what you're hearing for Agent Ash was really the Pressure Prince beats. And what you'll hear on the Pressure Prince would have been the Agent Ash beats. I cannot, in my fucking mind, hear them any differently than it is now. I couldn't imagine this project not being on. Get what I'm saying? So it's awesome how, but I'm just being 100% honest. I'm talking about as a whole beat pack. I'm going to write to this beat. I swapped them. So you're hearing the Pressure Prince beats as an Agent Ash album. That's a fact. So it just shows you how my spiritual life and prayer life and different things go into me putting projects together. And I enjoy it. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff I go through might be too spooky for people to handle. You know what I mean? But it's a part of my life. It's not spooky to me. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these things I'm really, really into. Rislini, the concept, obviously I've added a W to the beginning of it, but it was really RSTLNE. I do that in every song, by the way, has one letter changed. Intro has an E instead of an I. Agent Ash, it's in the E, it's a Y. Just do that, so you'll get it all the way down. Rislini is the letters that they give you at the bonus round of Wheel of Fortune. And you'll hear Wheel of Fortune references throughout the song. And it was my way of saying certain things are a given. And I took this bold God posture approach, like I'm in control of all of this. Rislini is a rolling fortune mystery that everything in history is mine as a given. And nothing that exists is escaping my wrist, including all inanimate objects and the living. The earth into the universe should clue the first, well decorated with my glorious wrapping and a ribbon. Inert is every bee in the cold and the heat, and I'm holding the key to every car that's ever been driven. So that's heavy shit, man, spitting it. It's my way of taking God posture. Like I'm in creation with God. By the way, my records talk a lot about this, if y'all hadn't picked up on it. My oneness with God in the spirit. So much so that whereas the spirit, the will of the Father, processed through the word, the manifestation by the spirit, I am a part of that manifestation. So I enter into and physical bodily form, part of the manifestation. So it's get into creation with the Creator, right? It's the mystery of Christ, by the way. He has a, if you will, a tangible body, which obviously is created, and yet he's the creator. So that you get what I'm saying from the word standpoint, blah, blah, heavy shit. So I take that on and say this should be a given on how the things are going to come out and what I have going on, because being God, I sketched it. You know what I mean? So Rislany is a given. Rislany is a rolling fortune mystery, that everything in history is mine as a given. And nothing that exists is escaping my wrist, including all inanimate objects and the living. The earth into the universe should clue the first, well decorated with my glorious wrapping and a ribbon. Inert, so that means everything that's not moving. Inert is every bee. So if you will, everything is standing still, and I'm holding the key to every car that's ever been driven that moves. You get what I'm saying? So even things that are positioned that eventually will be in motion, I'm responsible for the motion. So the standstill and the motion. It's heavy shit. Took a lot, you know, when I was writing this out. Inert is every bee and every cold in the heat. I'm holding the key to every car that's ever been driven. Vroom. You know, very particular. And I go on from there. When I was deciding what to do with this, I thought about La Dialogue. La Dialogue and Lyric Hill are my main go-tos for features. And that's not me trying to exclude anyone else, but I can tell you this. Number one, they're dope. Two, they're consistent. And three, they work their asses off and they'll get the stuff back to me. And so I like his verse that he came in with. You know, he's going off, you know what I mean, on the way people perceive things and so forth. And so when I wrote the hook, and I know I'm going long with this, when I wrote the hook, do I say the cancer or a cancer? A cancer, because that's my, and I don't get into signs like that, but I thought it was cool to use it. And so, because my birthday is in June, I'm a cancer, you know, in the late June, I'm a cancer. A cancer, the sign of misaligning the body. This is funny, and I'm not even finna pick it up. A buddy of mine, Morris, is actually calling right now, and I'm leaving this in here too. I'm gonna have to hit him up. That's crazy. That's crazy, because I was just talking about features, and I sent the track to him. A cancer, the sign of misaligning the body. So you see the cancer reference, and then the cancer sign references, and then the what cancer does to the body. The cancer, a sign of misaligning the body in bed. The more they're wetting me, that's me talking about me being with women, the bigger the drought. That's for the other men. The more they're wetting me, the bigger the drought. You know what I'm saying? So I get into that. And it's basically saying, even in this sexual endeavor and judgment that I'm working in, this was written too. You know what I mean? I'm a part of it. It's wrestling. It should have been a given that God has the final say-so in what's what, who's who, what goes where, blah, blah, blah. And I'm letting y'all know in the sexual context, who you think is for you will actually be given to me. Okay, just to make sure my music is right. So you get what I'm saying. That's what I did there. All right. I did a second verse. And, you know, my second verse is, did I even play? I hadn't even played it. Have I? Okay, let's do Well, this is going to be an interesting episode. I'll tell you this. Watch this. Okay.
Creep in, quiet. Agent Ash, Agent Cash. Shaft on them. Wrestling is a rolling fortune mystery, that everything in history is mine as a given, and nothing that exists is escaping my wrist, including all inanimate objects and the living. The earth into the universe should clue the first, well decorated with my glorious wrapping and a ribbon. Inert is every bee in the cold and the heat, and I'm holding the key to every car that's ever been driven. Very particular vehicular room, and I'm pacing the outer spacing with my inner thoughts. The upper hand of an understanding, overzealous and still never jealous. What a winner saw. You should have went and bought the trophy. I don't need a prompt to start the competition and the hope. He sold with a label and a box to put his work in. I'm certain of what it won't be, and you can quote me fresh. Editorial that's written in black in the flesh, and the glory soul that's meshed in a digital press, and with a pivotal and union address criminal, yes. Ride subliminal and walking in the blatant in a running for the greatest shakedown of the debtors who know they can't say jack. When I pat that ass as pre-office and the carrier that let them pick the letters. Shit, I'll solve for the triple X, gouging algebraic functions. If no solution, then ask me why. I handle but as a true conjunction between two thighs and brought the conflict revolution. Change one letter from a V to an S, turn a plea from a guess. She figured out with just a portion, vexing these X-Men who marvel at the wheel when this black god's role was me inventing the fortune. A cancer, the sound of misaligning the body in bed. The more they're wetting me, the bigger the drought. And I'm safe to answer proud of choosing a side, and I'm left with upset until they figure it out. But it's risk no need.
Man, I'm tired of the symbolism. Niggas taking L's and sat back down because they can't explain the syllogism. And failed the bar, but they swear they on the pull-ups. Ain't got no car, no empty space off on this full bus. But super clout.
All right. Like I said, I don't want to play the whole song of these. So again, you hear both of us spitting our ass off on this joint. You know what I mean? But I get very, very bar heavy in that first verse and even in the last one. And shout out to the dialogue for putting the verse on here with me, because it came out dope. And it was one of the, if I'm correct, it might have been the last song that actually got written and put together. If I'm correct, it might have been the last one that was actually written and put together. So I appreciate him coming through on that. And it's one of the if I'm correct, it's the longest song on the album, 4 minutes and 16 seconds. But the chorus is dope. The smoothness of the beat, you know what I mean, and how we both rip on it. That's what it is. All right, let's get into JL, Justice Lady. I think I'm gonna start off playing it. Let's get into it. Now listen to what I'm telling you, because I'm trying to explain this so y'all can understand exactly what she's about. Because it's not a small thing. The new standard my hand drew wasn't Andrew Luck stuck on a pass and a fan view. The ran through wasn't random, but a tandem lust plus skill to fucking kill when a trust irrevocable. Stroking of the ass assassin, but don't ask, the math seems asinine. Pour past the wine, sipping my endeavor. If there ever was a Deborah and JL combined, it's mine. It's minus in the time, of course, and the duly blessed assess and rhyme and force. More than fickle above the nickel and diamond source, but a penny in pocket, an iron horse and a rider. Checking every document divider, line and punctuation on the heart and the pages. Her book of wrath, but readers took part in the rage. Have you ever seen any gorilla starve when the cage is removed? So then what is there to prove from either of us? A tipped hat and a courtesy. That shit go off, man. JL, well, let's talk about the title real quick. JL is the name, I added a letter. So the technical spelling is Jael. I put a Y in between. JL is a character out of the Bible in the book of Judges. And at the time, the actual judge was a female, and it was Deborah. Long story short, there was a particular, if I'm correct, military commander of sorts who was causing problems for Israel and obviously Deborah. And her military general, if I'm correct, was supposed to handle it, and he was afraid to by himself, or something like that. Anyway, Sisera is the name of the right? Sisera is the name of the person they had problems with. Sisera was friends, I think, like with JL's husband, so he goes there, something like that. She basically feeds him, gives him something to drink. Then I think when he falls asleep, she sets him up and drives a tent peg through his, drives a spike through his temple. So she operates as a judge, an assassin, if you will, but she sets him up. She wasn't the technical judge. She was an operational judge. Now, what does that mean? It was somebody can have the title and the operation, and somebody cannot have the title and still have the operation. You'll learn about that with the Lord. You know what I mean? Don't be, the title can be important, but the function, the obedient function and knowing what to do when is most important. And I actually in this rhyme saying that JL's form of worship is a spike in the temple. So you notice the temple like that you'll pray in, and then the temple of your brain. Her form of worship is a spike in the temple. You understand what I'm saying to you? That's how I said it. It's a smooth track. I'm gonna tell you where it was written. It was a Saturday. My sister was doing some stuff for her son, helping him clean up his apartment because they were moving to another apartment. And I went over there to kind of help out. And she'll tell you, I kept humming the music. Oh, hey, yeah. She was like, what are you? But I was writing. I kept playing it over and over so I can kind of vibe to it and write it out. So that's where a lot of it was written. I love the subtlety of my voice and what I'm saying about her and how she operates, her subtlety and our operation together. You know what I mean? You know, if there ever was a Deborah and JL combined, it's mine. It's talking about AJ. It's heavy shit, man. Another part I like when I say, so what is there? Have you ever seen a gorilla starve when the cage is removed? So then what is there to prove from either of us? A tipped hat and a curtsy? You know what I mean? It's one of those things to where it's like, if you understand Deborah and JL, if you understand how an assassin works, I'm telling you this is who she is. So don't be shocked at her function. Don't be shocked at our function. Don't be shocked at how we operate together. You know, Bonnie and Clyde, but in a much craftier, you know what I mean, don't be fooled type of way. You know what I mean? Here today, gone tomorrow. You know what I mean? Don't get it twisted. We're on a specific, righteous, God-led agenda, and this is going to get done. You know what I mean? And so it's basically focusing on her, but also how I thrive off of her. You know what I mean? The beat for JL was also made, if I'm correct, might have been on that first day that I was working those beats. And at the time, I couldn't tell you what I was really going for, but what was occurring was they were real mysterious and kind of subtle. You know what I mean? Real mysterious and kind of subtle in the sounds that I was using. You know what I mean? And that was right along in that. So JL. And I called it Justice Lady because it's a way of taking JL, J-E, and you might even say JL, JL, and to, you know, make it an acronym, JL, and then I just called it Justice Lady off of that. So JL, Justice Lady. And again, no chorus, but some of the singing parts in there, it's a awesome track. And it also, I like how smooth it is because it sets up the next song, which is brand new.
Read along, sing along type style, you know what I mean? Yeah, and Mandarin, suited for the fruit plan, rooted in the land. Man, murder was the case. Briefing with a brush with a toucan, and hell, and after snail caught the hare, then I heard it was a chase. I never would have guessed it. At best, an inkling, a twinkling, God blessed it. The sprinkling was gallons, poured and out of balance, perfectly weighted with boxes of post-haste and foxes outdated as postage. A chicken dome fest that I roasted in 11 herb dimensions. On 90 I had mentioned, became more of a fool when I ghosted. Returned to a VIP pass and a first class ascension. Cursed as it's never on my playlist. The A-listed actor, B nasty casted as the setting and the prop, the true op that they missed. The chill in the next episode of Everlasting. Seemingly rejected, the ass and the cash was still getting collected. Better when it's new and the best couldn't respect it. Even with a clue before anybody knew it was brand new. Though I seemingly rejected, the ass and the cash was still getting collected. Better when it's new and the best couldn't respect it. Home was a clue because nobody knew it was brand new. The lion of the tribe of the...
That shit jam, baby. Brand new. Let's start with the backstory. That was, I told you, my relationship with Ash and spiritually how that works out, how the Spirit of God talks to me and uses her to do it. I was leaving the apartment, I was going out, and I was headed to go to the restaurant up the street. And, you know, I like playing music and so forth. And whatever I was about to play, I felt in my spirit, don't play that, play your own beats. Okay, so I was playing on my own beats. I played this one. I wish you, and it just started to hit me. And every now and then the first words would come to me. So it was like, canned mandarin, duty for the fruit plan. And it just started going from there. Man, murder was the case. And I wrote it, so I was Raising Cane's. I went inside Raising Cane's and I wrote at least the first verse there. You know what I mean? Probably half of the second verse too. And it just started to come together from there. And what I like about it, number one, coming off the JL track, that's why I said I like the flow of it. Maybe the chorus came together first. Though I'm seemingly rejected, the ass and the cash will still get collected. But better when it's due, and the best couldn't respect it. The brand new concept, my name is Brandon. My first name is Brandon, Branden. And family calls me, they call me BJ now, but for many years, and some still call me Brand. You know what I mean? So I kind of played off that, new from the sexual aspect of new and knowing, new sexually and then new knowing. And then also brand new, which is cool because remember when I talked about changing one letter? So take the D off of brand and add a K to new. You get what I'm saying? So it's that type of, like, some stuff I'm deliberate about. Some stuff is like, wow, it goes right in with me not being deliberate. It fits right in with what my kind of operation is. The gist of the track should be obvious. It's about collecting ass and cash. You know what I mean? It will be given to me. You know what I mean? So that, and Ashley is on her mission to stir the payment. You get what I'm saying? To inspire the payment. Let me get. You'll only catch this if I'm not saying you won't get it, but I'm actually going to deliberately say it here. Spiritual motivation. Okay, just like you would advertising, you see something and it, blah blah blah. That entire. Imagine if you had that spiritually, and somebody can inspire things to come to you. That's what's okay. Now, y'all call it whatever you want. That's what I'm getting at. Though I'm seemingly rejected, the ass and the cash will still get collected, but better when it's due. You get what I'm saying? I gave you the opportunity to, and this is not a rape thing. You know what I mean? It's not a rape thing. The inspiration, y'all are not ready for the stuff that's coming spiritually. The inspiration will come from God. So you may not know where this is headed. You know what I mean? I spoke about it in the song. You hear me say in 11 herb dimensions. On 90 I had mentioned. That's twofold. Number one, I mentioned the 11 dimensions. On 90 degree angle was on the song called God Swear. Linked with height, time, desire, and hope, pleasure, pain, thoughts, and memory, and dreams in the scope. I found the strength in all 10, 11, in which are heavenly throat, and high degree heats redeeming my slope. You get that type of deal. So, 11 herb dimensions, on 90 I had mentioned. The other thing I mentioned on 90 degree angle was all mine. The treasures don't know why. I say the pleasure's all mine, but what does it matter anyway? Same thing. Spiritually, they'll be given the inspiration to bring that ass and the cash to me. So I'm singing about it here. Though I'm seemingly rejected, the ass and the cash will still get collected, but better when it's due, and the best couldn't respect it, even with a clue before anybody knew it was brand new. Though I'm seemingly rejected, and I, blah blah blah, and I go on, and I'm just, ripping off. I think what bothers people is, number one, who the fuck do you think you are? You know what I mean? Folks, I'm deep in the spirit and I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And I grow in it daily, what he's doing and why he's doing it. You know what I mean? And I talk about it, what this represents for the end times and so forth. My life is really, really deep in the prophetic goings on going forward. You know what I mean? And what I'm doing and crafting through my music and so forth. So it's a lot deeper than just music. But, people don't believe half the shit I say anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, I'm going to stop. You don't believe anyway. So that's what the track was based around. And like I said, the chorus kind of came together. It's like, okay, well, let's start working on putting the verses in and so forth. And then when it came to recording, I recorded it quite a few times. Because how I want my voice to be, I I think I might have recorded low can Mandarin, zooted for the fruit plant, booty with the land, man, murder was the case. Briefing with it, you know what I mean? Like I've tried different things, and I do that. I want it to sound, what do I think is right for the song? You know what I mean? And so definitely showcases, again, what the project is all about, what me and Ash are in this for, what we're doing and so forth. It's interesting because the ass and the cash will still get collected. The ass and the cash can still get collected, can actually go both ways. You know what I mean? So women, their ass and their cash collected this way, but me being Agent Cash, who has an ass, they're taking me as well. So it'll still get collected. It's a both ways type of deal. You know what I mean? Better when it's due. Best couldn't respect it, even with a clue before anybody knew. It was brand new. It's like I know what God is doing. You know what I mean? So before anybody knew, because nobody knew, you know, God gave it to me. You know, it'll be held up otherwise if God left it to them. And by the way, I've actually witnessed this firsthand. Things that were said prophetically that needed to be verified by him, I've watched people shoot that shit down. If the entirety of the world's survival depended on individuals actually seeking the Spirit of God wholeheartedly, this shit would go up in smoke. Okay, beat-wise, this beat was not made with the others. This was made... I was doing a lot of different things differently. It actually appeared on my... I did 3... That's good, Lord. I just thought about that. I did 3 instrumental projects. It was just like beats. Each beat was 1 minute long. It was like beat tapes. And this was on there. And so I don't think originally it was in the beat pack. In fact, I know it wasn't. But I'm always listening to my beats. I got so many. I go, will this fit in the album? If I put this in there, if I take this out, if I redo this one. And this got added in. And great addition, too. Great addition. I wish you... Woo! Holidays. Baby, let me tell you. Do, 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 do. Of all the beats on the album, one other one, and I'll mention it, it might be 1 or 2 others, that I heard the most promise with early on. And let me tell you what I mean. I can make a beat and not know what I'm going to do with it right away. Some beats, while I'm literally programming it, working on it, mixing it, you know what I mean? I'm writing bars for it. I have a direction for it. I knew when I made this beat, it was going to be something. I didn't know what. It, to me, has I've been to a lot of hip-hop shows throughout my life, especially early on, but I've been to a bunch. And I know the feeling I get when certain songs that I know by the artist come on and the crowd participation and blah, blah, blah. I get that every time especially now. But when I heard that beat, it was one of those ones. It's got a nice hard beat to it, but the mystery of the melody. And then I did so much with this when I was recording it. A lot of the stuff I layered in. I did a lot of stuff in the background with ad-libs. Yeah. Holiday. So let me tell you. When I originally started out, though, I don't think... I have to go back and look at my bars, because I don't think I discard bars. I put them in a note on my phone, like bars I can come back to and reword and put into something else. So I don't know if this was the original concept of using holidays as sexual activity. May have been, because I had a couple of songs that got redone based on what I was doing. But this one might have been something different. And somewhere along the lines, I was like, no, I want to do something with holidays. You know what I mean? Even before I knew how the chorus was going to go, I want to do something with holidays. And so, show Hallow Eve about this. Know how to get at them at this fruit fest. Let's go ahead and play a little bit.
about this. Know how to get at 'em at this fruit fest. Guarded excess, free recruit sex. Celebrate celebrity, red carpet type of shallow gifting. Geopolitical battle shifting. War, heroic veteran penning. With a pen of independence of rants. Advancing 4th of July. New methods of infesting them with smallpox. Strictly for my niggas while my enemies are forced to comply. No Thanksgiving them hell. Gratitude in the bell. Southern bread from a flower bed that rose to rebel. Playing hooky with the cookie that they chose to expel. To my loving of the oven, press my nose to the smell. Sniffing triple day weekends of strong cold front with a heat stroke. And Easter clothes blowed for the deep throat. And bunnies hopping in for the chop and chase with scrambling eggs. Constitutes a face preambling legs. Drop the ball like it's New Year's Eve. Ready to teabag this heathen in her eating of deep breathing as she brags. Let the woman run it for a change. That's the kind that folds. Plus she jingling when drinking my soul. True Valentine, Cupid, Columbus on Discovery. Unbox the chocolatey dick dies to cover me. The slutty buddy employed for less than dollar pays. Catch me working nights, weekends, and holidays. All about the holidays. It's all about the holidays. Cake cutting, slutting, mistake, prize, and buttons stay rewarded. Lord of the Saint thighs ain't shutting, I've explored it.
Listen to me, baby. Going off to keep all other creeps out of the room. I had it boarded in high resolution size recording. I'm nasty, y'all. What I like about it is how subtle the lyricism and punchlines are. You know, I don't get into it. I don't know when I did this. I'm honest. I don't know when I started taking like and as out of my main punchlines. Now, like I said, I was 13 years out of music. But I'll go back and listen to some of my, you know, other 10 albums, including this, or 11 albums, including this one. Like and as seems to be something that I didn't go back to. Very early on, when me and Killer was starting out, I used to be a like and as type of, you know, like a, you know, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying I don't do it, but I'm very subtle and, you know, use it very little now. Now I just put it in there and expect for you to catch it. Give you one of the examples. I said, new methods of infesting them with smallpox. Then I say strictly for my niggas. While my enemy, and you hear me in the background say enemies, or my enemies. So that's like smallpox that they gave at the, you know, they say the Native Americans gave to, I mean the white people gave to the Native Americans and so forth. But I flip it and make it two pox. You know what I mean? Smallpox, strictly for my niggas, while my enemies are forced to comply. So you can look at the smallpox as a infesting my own people with that spirit of Pac, that charisma and so forth, while my enemies are forced to comply. You know what I mean? So that it's heavy, man. You know, it gets a little aggressive in there. Let the woman run it for a change. That's the kind that folds. So we talking about the change that folds, which comes from coming to America. You know, that we'd rather get the kind that folds. But also you can say a woman folds by, you know, how you're sexually engaging her, but also folds in the sense of giving it up like you would in a poker game. So it's, you know, it's heavy. And by the way, this song does it a lot. It's little jabs, you know what I mean, that you got to catch the punchline like, whoa. It opens up, show Hallow Eve about this know how to get Adam. Adam, A-T, apostrophe E-M, like at them, Adam, or Adam, A-D-A-M, about know how to get Adam at this fruit fest. God in excess, free recruit sex, celebrate celebrity, red carpet type of shallow gifting, geopolitical battleship. And let's get into the Memorial Veterans Day thing. War, heroic veteran, penning with a pen of independence of rants, advancing 4th of July. New methods of infesting them with smallpox, strictly for my niggas while my enemies are forced to comply. No Thanksgiving them hell, gratitude in the bell. Southern bread from a flower bed that chose to rebel. And see, so you get southern bread, like how a person is brought up, reared, so, but also bread, so a type of, you know, edible bread. And then I say from a flower bed, which bread comes from, but also, listen to me, baby. No southern bread from a flour bread that chose to rebel. Playing rookie with the cookie that they chose to expel to my loving from the oven. You know, people talking about putting, there goes back to the bread, putting a biscuit in the oven, pregnant. So you're talking about the woman's vagina, birth canal. Press my nose to the smell. And it goes back to the bread reference. So I'm going to throw this one in here because it's at the, because I didn't play it, it's at the beginning of the second verse. Cake, cutting, slutting, mistake, prize, and button stay rewarded. Lord of the Saint thighs ain't shutting, I've explored it. To keep all of the creeps out of the room, I had it boarded and high resolution size recorded. So that line was like saying, to keep everybody else out, you can, board it, like putting boards up so they can't get in, or board it with more women. You get what I'm saying? Boarded with more women. I had it boarded, living, you know what I mean? And high resolution size recorded. So it just shows you the boarded and boarded. That was intentional, by the way. So the game time, and at the same time she's showing me hers. I showed her mine as we redefine the gender reveal. Man, I'm nasty with this shit, and it's so awesome though. I did more in this song with ad libs. In fact, this whole album is filled with it. Ad libs of different things that I'm doing in the background for my enemies. Like I specifically did that so to help people get the Tupac reference, to sell it. And when I came to the chorus, I was gonna write a chorus, but I just like and then the different tones, the voices that I'm doing, it's all about the holler. And then when it gets to the last part of me doing that at the end of the holler days, it's so smooth. It's like a smooth. It's dope, man. Okay. Holidays. Interlude was actually it's called Launch Break. It was actually going to be something that I rapped over. So whereas you hear this, let's play it. So this, I think, was in the beat pack or got added to it. And when I was working on it, I was going to rap on it because there actually is percussion that comes in. I just cut it short, and I think I might have looped it a little bit more just to make it longer. But I decided not to. Maybe it appears on another album and I'll do something with it. But I like how it sounded. In fact, this particular interlude was supposed to go before Fixed Game, which is the last song on the album. And it was one of those things to where I can hear it get ready to launch into what you call launch break, launch into that, and you'll hear the song when I get to it. But when I did Consider Penny, so I'm telling you some of the other songs coming up. When I did Consider Penny, the way I end Consider Penny, I was like, man, it's either that or it's this launch break. It can't be both. You know what I mean? And consequently, Consider Penny won the penny toss, won the coin toss, which wasn't a coin toss. I just literally had to make a decision, and I'm glad I did, because I like how this goes into the next song. It goes into Fried Bologna Sammy, and like I said, it's a nice bridge coming off of Holidays, nice little tone down before we get into the next half of the album, which in a sense kind of sounds a little bit not different, but the beats are a little bit different in the sound going forward. So, launch break. Yeah. Gotta love that fried bologna Sammy. Let's get into it. asunder, I guess you will. Fried Bologna Sammy. It is the only song on the album where the title of the song was actually the title of the beat, with the exception of the changed letter. It was actually, and that's the E to the A to an E on Bologna. It was the hardest song to write, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I liked the beat and I didn't know where I was going with it at first. It started off talking about some paperwork I had to deal with. Somebody, a piece of paperwork that came to me was somebody was playing around. That's why you hear it say one letter showed the hand. Mine played the means of three queens, the jack and the joker. You know what I mean? Man of the flame with no shame who came with eyes that'll only see black, and the smoker. It's like I'll only see this through, black righteousness, and and the smoker, or it's gonna be black when I'm done. It's like that type of deal. So that's where it started. So I was really going off on that tangent, if you will, government. But then it became, this is all encompassing. This is anybody who's trying to play with me. One letter, you know what I mean? You doing different things to try to fuck with me. You know what I mean? This is for anybody. So, and that's why it gets into it. You're getting into a household. I'm coming to take that wife. You know what I mean? Bit of hope in a white meat. The children, the dog, the four focus abound. The man for the choke, put something in chokehold. The man for the wifey. Thanks for assisting this inside job. It's basically saying the shit that you're doing or trying to use against me is helping my cause. It's going to backfire against you. Thanks for assisting this inside job. I eagerly needed your stupid ass to plan this. Like everything you're doing is working for me, whether you know it or not. You get what I'm saying? So you would be wise to just take this L. You know what I mean? Because you're pissing me off. The more it gets more intense. You know what I mean? As you get into the three verses, put a triple X in the middle. Now I'm in the. So the Fried Bologna Sammy was, I didn't know what to do with the chorus. So I didn't know what I was going to title the song. I'm just writing the bars. So when it gets to the chorus, it was like, well, shit. Why don't I just keep the title Fried Bologna Sammy and make that a reference point? So Fried Bologna becomes pussy, the pink, fried bologna, hot sex. So the vagina, the sex in general, Agent Ash, me and her. So it's a combination of things. You get what I'm saying? And it's almost one of the things, whatever you think, this is funny when you think about fried bologna, because you think poverty or poor, it's almost like government cheese. And so in this sense, especially since I mentioned government, it's almost saying fried bologna, I'm taking the what you think is reducing me down to nothingness. I love it. You see what I'm saying? What you think you're using against me is for me. I gotta love the fried bologna, Sammy. Knowing what I'll do to it. And the fact she sighed, talking about a woman, the fact that she sighed will only hand me another reason to do it again. You know what I mean? So now the first chorus, then now I jump into the second verse. Now I'm using Fried Bologna Sammy sandwich as a reference. Put a triple X in the middle of the slice and then put it in the pan on high heat to fry meat. And while I'm already wearing your fat, after bodies are wrapped, she put your sneakers on my feet. The perfect fit, and not the shoes. And it's really, as much as I do this a lot, I talk about taking your woman from you and so forth. The way I do it is very smooth. You know what I mean? And just letting you know, this is how, my favorite line, probably my favorite line is at the end where I said, let me get to it, where I say reassign the center.
More like reassign.
There it is. Let me go back up.
Truth had the mind to redeem. More like reassign the center. Your heart, my scepter stony. Or more like wood and I'm finna. The moment that she moans a good time for dinner. Renewing of the crime of truth had the mind to redeem. More like reassign the center.
I know that's right. shit heavy. The mind to redeem, or more like reassign the sinner. That's heavy shit. Gotta love that fried bologna. You know what's interesting about that? I'm actually working on something right now. I'm working on a book where I talk about, it's called Heaven, the Undesirable Eternity. And when you really think about that, you can look at that as redeeming, obviously, but because I'm talking about how in Revelation 7, you got a bunch of people in heaven that will realize God was putting all his blessings on the earth, and that yet they will remain there for eternity. So in a sense, there's that redeeming quality, but also from their standpoint, from God's standpoint, he has redeemed them. From their standpoint, I hate to say this, Lord, but I gotta, their standpoint, they're still sinners. They never, you get the impression that group never actually confessed from the side of life. They recognized from after their death and in his presence. So it's like he reassigned them to, by his redemption, but it's like reassigning the sinner. I'll just move sinners to a different place. You know what I mean? Because of his goodness, but you won't come back to earth where the kingdom is. And I just caught that, just mindfully. So definitely a deep song. It you know, it gets in there. Gotta love that fried bologna, Sammy. I've sampled the song before. It's a Peabo Bryson sample, just so you know. It's yeah, but it's pitched down so much you couldn't tell. But I have a beat that I did years ago that I'm working on another project where it's a higher pitch. It's an old beat too. We're talking 06. You're talking 20 years old. 20 easily 18 years old. So between 06 and 08, I made the beat. But I just never did anything with it. I think I put it on a YouTube video, some little Christian YouTube video. But I hadn't done much. And so I think I was playing with some samples one day. And I was like, I could do it. It annoyed me at first. Yeah. But it makes the song. You know what I mean? It's got a nice little eerie sound to it. Gotta love the fried bologna, Sammy. Knowing what I'll do for it, friend. And the fact she sighed will only hand me another reason to do it again. Mining Black Seed and Jewels. This is interesting. Da, 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 da. I'll preface and then we'll play it. This beat was made from an Anaya series. Anaya is the daughter of a friend of mine who, I just used her name for the series because she and I were conversing back and forth. She was doing some stuff poetically or whatever, and we were just kind of exchanging counsel back and forth. I was putting her on poetry spots and giving her suggestions. I think I sent her a beat or two just to kind of get started on some stuff. Whatever, it was just that type of deal. So I named my series Anaya. Shout out to Anaya, by the way. And this was one of the beats in it, and it was really a loop. It was one of those things I was sampling. It was just like da 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 da, da, and then I added some boom, different little things to it. I'm gonna tell you who inspired it, whether he knows it or not. Obviously, he's heard the album. There's a guy by the name of Midas the Beast, and not only do I like him as an MC, the production he's rapped over. He's just got something about him that is really, really different, like nobody I've ever heard before. You know what I mean? And so the poetic style of his rhymes, the gritty and griminess of his voice, and I first peeped him on. He's got a project with Planet Asia. This is how I first got into him. They got a project called And One Shit, and it's basketball themed and so forth. And that was my first time hearing, personally hearing him. And I was so impressed, I went and checked him out, blah, blah, blah. And so I was listening to one of his albums, and it has like a real grimy sound. I can't even tell you which one I was listening to at the moment. And so this beat, whether it sounds like it or not, it gave me that feel. You know what I mean? And so, didn't know what I was gonna do. This is before I knew it was gonna be an Agent Ash project. You know, it was just a beat, da 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 da, a little bit faster. You know what I mean? So let's play it.
System is described in terms of being built of quite rare materials on Earth. We've discovered how to make purer, a 12-produce film.
Big heavy, mining for mine as the finest of the find is a process for yielding. Double high five as a sign of the dimes of luck who struck gold in the fold in the field in. The field in, she reeled in the black seed, top commodity, hot slots and lottery met not the fueling of dual shock and backfeed. The kind that cities with big titties and lack need. On or off grid, mystery of metro. Keep a rudder till with a deep fill of petrol. Even with a slow dig, knowing it's rigged. Beer to flowing of pig flesh, wounds reaping vetro. Gave it the short sound, long or short round. Ration, splashing, all skins accredited. Raven of the throne, the day wrong. The court found legs open, casting, filming and editing. Directly fed with more than extraction. Action, major stage hand had bring up. Setting the props with 8 names of game lines. Came mine, same time the harvest spring up. Gush, flush in a sugar rush. Leaking, she's beaking the secret of the booze sex. Upon finish, a rich, quick replenish. Trade out the radiant ray, play for who's next. In the mining, shovel of the lust. Roll in the jewels and blow of the dust. Better to the black gold, better than the trust. Generational wealth, I felt it. Yeah, pressure the most precious, fresh and festive. Burst the
Oh yeah. All right, so let's get into it. I told you where the beat got inspired from. This whole album has the inspiration of Mad Villainy. Now, let me tell you why. I'm not saying it sounds like it. I'm saying I drew heavily. Madlib is the reason why I produce. DJ Premier is my favorite producer. Madlib is the reason why I produce today. You know what I mean? And why I got started in it. So I love the way he samples. I love his raw, gritty, fuck it, I can work with this approach. What he did with Mad Villainy between him and MF Doom, you know, it's just phenomenal. I drew heavy, especially for this song. That's why when you hear me say 100%, when I said gave it the short sound, longer, short round, that was all MF Doom. That was all MF Doom. You know what I mean? Because when I said rooms, obviously I said keeper of the, where was it? Well, I said Metro, mystery of Metro, keeper of the till, deep fill of petrol. Even with a slow dig, knowing it's rigged, bit of flowing of pig flesh, rooms reap. Okay, what do I can say in vitro, but it doesn't rhyme. In vitro. Doom, where I know he's done it at, I can't even pull it off the top of my head. But where he would make it known I did this on purpose type of deal. I can't even think of where you know what I mean? But it was one of those things to where I said rooms reap in vitro, then I'll just tell you, I gave it the short sound, long or short round, and then I just keep going from there. So even the kind of cadence is in at least in that part is Doomish. You know what I mean? Shout out to Doom. His name definitely came up when I was working on this project. So much so that I used the acronym Motherfuckers Don't Own Our Music. Tell me he ain't still speaking to this prophet from the grave. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers don't own our music. Go tell them that. Sure will. Dig heavy. The gist of the song is it's 2 parts. Okay, two parts. My mom has this black soap. Help me, Lord. I'm just telling this shit. Folks, I'm very deep in my things I come up with. She has this black soap. So typically I use the bathroom now. This black liquid soap. And it made me think about what if semen was black? You know what I mean? Remember I did Black Skeleton, so it kind of came from that too. What if everything white is basically blackened? You see what I'm saying? So not just black skeleton, but black semen. You know what I mean? And so I mentioned black semen actually in the Black Skeleton album. You know what I mean? So it was one day I was in meditation and I thought about that. Black semen, black seed. Okay. And then I go to, okay, since I'm on this thing about the women coming to me, their desire, what if as oil, as black oil is, and it's interesting, we have a thing called black seed oil, but you get what I'm saying. What if that became their highest commodity like people do with oil today? You know what I mean? So that's what the first verse is about. Dig heavy, mining for mine, as the finest of the find is a process for yielding. Double high five as a sign of the dimes of luck who struck gold, black gold in the fold and the field in. Revealed in, she reeled in the black seed. Top commodity, hot slots and lottery met not the fueling of dual shock and backfeed. The kind that cities with big titties and lack need. On or off grid, mystery of metro. Keep her at a till with a deep field of petrol. Even with a slow dig, knowing it's rigged. Bit of flowing of pig flesh. Wounds reaping vetro. Gave it the short sound, long or short round. Ration, splashing. All skins accredited. By the way, the accredited reference is, there was one time where I've never had like millions of dollars, folks, so just letting you know. But it was one time I got a lump sum of like 10 grand from a good friend of mine. She was a really good friend that passed on, and she left. She had a $20,000 life insurance policy. She split between me and her blood nephew. That's how close she and I was. Shout out to Sandra Weathersby, remembering her on this day. But so she had split the insurance policy, and I was trying to be smart with mine, so I invested and blah blah blah. So it was a couple of things that was going on with that. But because of my things I was doing, I would get investment calls all the time. And so, you know, I would let people know I'm not accredited. You got to have a certain amount of, certain amount of money or a certain amount invested or something like that. And I just didn't have it. So whenever they would call from then on, I would go, I'm not accredited. That way we can get off the call. But that's why I put it in there, because I know that's a term for certain investors. And so that's why I said all skins accredited. You know what I mean? You're not getting turned away from investing in this black seed agenda. So, but that's what the first verse is. The second verse, pressing the most precious, fresh and festive. And I start getting into there. The second verse is really them being a commodity for me. And I use the 12 jewels of the New Jerusalem, make them all voluptuous, gorgeous, brown tone, dark-skinned women. You know what I mean? And where commodities coming together. I want what they have, they want what I have. You get what I'm saying? So if you will, you can even look at it as two businesses. One, this company has all the oil, the black oil, and this company has all the jewels. You know what I mean? And us doing business together. I want what they got, they want what I got. So the second verse is about jewels. And all 12 jewels of the New Jerusalem are mentioned in there. You know what I mean? So I get into, you know, the chrysolite and chrysoprase know where the party is. I say that. If she bring a fire, sapphire with her, it elates a great task, but you didn't even ask her, nigga. Like I get it, and all of them are mentioned in there somewhere, somehow. That was deliberate. And so, mud in the mind, the chorus is mud of the mind, shovel of the lust, rule in the jewels and blown by the dust. Petters of the black gold. Black gold is supposed to be my male member. Petters of the black gold. That's why you hear me saying, I am Mitzrayim petted. It's that type of deal. It's like a, you know, if you, anyway. Pet it. Petters of the black gold is better than a trust. Generational wealth, I felt it. So that's one of those. It's like while people are chasing money, I'm chasing this intense sexual interaction between me and these women. And so generational wealth, it's a way of saying I felt it, but it's supposed to be felt sexual. Generational wealth is sexual interaction. I felt it. So that's what the chorus is. And I love how it came out. The person you hear talking at the beginning and the end was somebody who I saw a clip on social media. I don't know if he's a preacher or somebody. He was talking about the 12 jewels. That's how I learned about it. I know about the 12 jewels in a general sense from the Bible, but this guy was bearing it out. He was talking to another guy, and he was talking about anisotropic and versus isotropic and what it is and why diamonds are different. And you know, so anyway, And so knowing that's what my verse was when it came down to finishing it up, when it came time to finishing it up, I went and added his voice and put clips in there, and I think it came out really good. Da, 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 don, don. Straight loop, you know what I mean? Consider thee if he was ever owed a penny. The bidder of the score is a bit more than many. Consider Penny featuring Her Naughty Prince. When you see me post about it, you'll typically see me post the feature in there as well. I just feel like Ash wants that done. Consider Penny featuring Her Naughty Prince. Her Naughty Prince is me. But it was one of those things, it was like I'm going to give myself another title in this so that I can use it maybe down the road or so forth. And it was the song is too awesome to not segment that person out individually. And that's what I'm doing on the chorus. I'm going to talk a little bit about it and then I'll play it. Notice the consistency of collection of different things and so forth is there. When I was writing it, I can't even remember how it started. It might have been at my sister's house. She IRS, welfare to rapture. In fact, I know it was. Snatches a throne of Blackstone affection. I'm going to tell you what was happening during that time. And it's in the verse. The women's national championship, NCAA basketball national championship, I missed it because I couldn't figure out how to work my brother-in-law and sister's TV. So I couldn't find the game. So that's a fact. That's why you hear Dawn Staley mentioned in it. You know what I mean? Just in the sense of, again, it was, national championship was going on and so forth. But I used the women's basketball, particularly college, particularly women's college basketball, but there's a little bit of NBA in there too, men's college basketball. I use basketball as the reference to keep coming back to base it off of. So, and it's basically saying, consider if you owe me anything, money, respect, whatever it is you owe me in the Lord, from the Lord, by what he says. If you owe me a phone call, if you owe me an apology, if you owe me a respect, if you owe me a testimony, you need to tell this person you lied or blah, blah, blah. You owe me that. You are going to give me that. Ash is going to make sure of it. Okay. How it got put together, he doesn't know this. It's a buddy of mine, and I'm not even going to call his name. He may figure it out. I was down on my finances, you know what I mean? And it was bad. And it was bothering me because, the little money I could get would have helped. And it was a couple of people who owed me. It's still a couple who was playing me. Buddy of mine, he's made good on it. Matter of fact, right around the time I was recording this, you know what I mean? He's made good on it. So he's off the hook. And I thank God when he apologized. You know what I mean? He didn't know how hot I was about it, though. It helped to inspire this song. Another individual has owed me for a job I agreed to let him pay me 2 weeks out on, and it's been almost 2 years. Recently reached out for me to mount some more TVs, even though he hadn't paid me for the previous, but it's like, I'm going to pay you. And so it was like playing me, I'm just going to pay you so you'll come do this other one. Yeah, it's like, how about you just pay me because you owe me? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be an asshole about it, but let's acknowledge, give me that first and let me make the decision. Because it's almost like holding that money just in case I don't want to do the job. So it was that type of this. Still hadn't made good on it. Another person owed me a couple of dollars and was trying to act like me asking for it, like they didn't play me. So it was those type of things. And it just kind of came, it was like, okay, I'm going to make a song out of it then. And so, particularly the friend who paid me, you know what I mean? It was all of this, but it was particularly there. And I started singing, if he was ever owed a single motherfucking dime from you, I say. Now, What happened was I was sitting right here, mic set up, I was getting ready to record, and it was probably, today is Tuesday, it was probably a Tuesday, because the lawn service people were here. So where I was working on recording the verses, consider thee if he was ever owed a penny, the bidder of the score is a bit more than many, comfy with the 3 and running points to way up, rock round the back and a layup for pay up. So I'm using basketball moves. The rock round the back is my shaft and a woman's hind. So, but that's how I use it. Rock round the back and a layup, like laying up with somebody for pay up. So so that type of deal. So I had that already written. That was the chorus I was going to sing. But how I got to the Her Naughty Prince solo, over it, I was getting ready to record, but the lawn service people were going. So you can hear the blowers and the weed eaters and so it's like shit. But you got to let them do that. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, let me just work on, mixing little pieces and doing blah, blah, blah. And when they were finished, now I'm ready to record. It just came up. If he was there, and I was like, whoa. You know what I mean? And it came out so good. I was like, I'm going to do that. And rather than cut and paste, I'm going to do it different each one. You know what I mean? That's why I'm so passionate at the end. And so I was like, man, so the chorus I had laid, I was like, I'll go back in and do my verses later. So I pretty much laid all my choruses. But that did it. And I was like, okay, I'm on to something. So yeah, that was inspired by a good friend of mine. He had owed me, I'm not going to say what he owed me. It wasn't a lot, but it mattered to me. And so much so I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I need this dude to make good on this, blah, 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 blah. And so, but it came out of that sentiment. If he was ever owed anything, you know what I mean? He about to get that shit. And I'm going to tell you what's cool about it. Anybody, well, let me say it this way. People who are like friends of mine, all came through that week. Some with stuff that actually helped me, like beyond what they owed me. It was that type of deal. So it was like, wow. And it really blessed me because number one, I got the song out of it. God is good, because I wouldn't have got the song if I didn't have the sentiment, the posture. You know what I mean? Like it was upsetting me. So even the writing of the song, beyond recording, the writing of the song was based off of, like, anybody owes me, I'm finna get that shit. Ash is finna make sure of it. And how she inspires or whatever. It may not be on the bad tip. I'm finna get that shit, though. You know what I mean? So, by the way, this was for a job that I did at somebody's house. You know, that I was talking about. So, but it inspired. It was coming from not a bitter place, but a better place. Like, I'm tired of people messing over me, even when it's like small stuff. Like, why do I get played like this? You know what I mean? And so it came out dope. Now let's get into the verses. So I get into the whole She IRS. It's the first time I actually mentioned the words in the album. She IRS. That came from Agent Ash, the IRS, Internal Revenue Service. But I wrote it out, and instead of the, I said she. So you see me with the change in one letter, then I changed those letters into words. So, or phrases, or whatever. Sounds. She IRS. That's where that came from. So it's a way of making her a tax, quote unquote, tax collector, blah, blah, blah. She IRS, welfare to rapture, snatches a throne of the... I hadn't played it.
Snatches a throne of Blackstone affection. No compilation and no balance to capture. President of resident fat bones collection. She's on a mission impossible, accomplished already. From a different world, sleepers call Freddy. Sweet dreaming nightmare, morning horsepower, D scheming, not rated PG. And ball steady yet. She wants some Dawn Staley, wet Ashley furnishings, feeding her my dick vital. And oh baby, vetting in the slick with the sting that kinda chew con. Too fond to wander, new fonders maybe. The Home Depot of repo. The hatter of the half in that habitat tragic. The sex slave catcher, master of the free throw. Making shacks look like mansions. Imagine, consider if he was ever on a penny. The bidder of the scores a bit more than many. Comfy with a three and running points to way up. Rock around the back and a layup for pay up. Consider if he was ever on a penny. The bidder of the scores a bit more than many. Comfy with a three and running points to way up. Rock around the back and a layup. Illegal scream for the chicken head, technical foul mistake for the.
That's funny because as I'm listening to the verses, I remember where I wrote it. I was on my sister's couch. I think I was house and dog sitting for them, and it was at night, and I was putting the bars down. But like I said, I used the basketball reference, quote unquote, as the pivot, and it's funny. It's funny. Just last night, my mom was listening to Dawn Staley on the Pivot podcast. It's funny, literally. I'm not joking. So I used that, and that was one of the questions they asked her. How do you pivot? But I used college basketball as a reference, and you hear me mention Dawn Staley because she's a point guard, but that was also a PG, like PG versus rated R, rated X reference. Not rated PG, I said. And ball steady yet. She on the Dawn Staley wet Ashley furnishings, just as far as how she dishes the rock, feeding up my dick vital and old baby. That was one of his. He used to say that, oh baby. The kind that you con, I think that's where she played. Too fond to wander, new fondlers. I like that reference, new fondlers, maybe. That's like new women that are just getting associated with me sexually. The Home Depot of repo. Now, you wouldn't understand that too much. My color for Ashley is orange, and so there was a lot of things God would have me to do at Home Depots when I was traveling and living my nomad life. Every now and then I would park at a Home Depot. So a lot of mysterious things have happened in Home Depots. So, and it's a place where there's a lot of building, it's a large type of thing. So the Home Depot of repo, you know what I mean? So, who Debo is from Friday. And then I say the halfing of the habitat. The halfing of the Depot, halving that habitat tragic. So basically saying cutting your assets in half, divorce. You know what I mean? It goes hard. It's getting deep in there. What I'm saying. The chorus is, consider thee if he was ever owed a penny. The bidder of the scores a bit more than many. Comfy with the three and running points to way up. Rock round the back and a layup for pay up. So there's the basketball reference and the sexual bed reference. You get what I'm saying? And then the second verse, illegal screen for the chicken head, technical foul. It goes off. When I get to the third verse, by the way, I've done a music video for this. AI 3D animation is probably my best one. It's the one where I actually started using lip sync, where they're actually saying the words as opposed to just the narrative of it. So this was a huge song for me. And let me play I'm going to play a little piece of the last verse and then going out.
Then take the foul, run loose with the proud, lead an army of a March Madness all year round. Does that sound bad? I'm truly me, but I'm lethal to the people. They think that they can play me like an exhibition. I laid fire with the sex and the smoke and left ash on the jersey for a flex collection. If he was ever on a penny, they get on the scores a bit more than many. Coming with a three and running points to way up. Rock round the back and a layup for pay up. Consider if he was ever on a penny. They get on the scores a bit more than many. Coming with a three and running points to way up.
Okay, I wanted to play just a little piece of Fixed Game before I get into it. Let me finish up with Consider Penny. You hear the passion that I'm singing in. And I'm so blessed by the song. I'm so blessed by the people who have made good on the financial payments they owed me. I still got it out for those that have missed it because it's serious. I heard a preacher say something recently, if you can bear with me. African preacher. And he was talking about how closely linked blood and money are. And how holding back somebody's wages or failing to pay them is equivalent. Playing with somebody's money is equivalent to killing them. You know what I mean? And this was recent. I only saw this. My song was done before I even heard him say it. But it really made sense to me. It's especially when you don't know what that money means to a person. I just watched Four Brothers the other day. And you remember how what that was all about, and having to pay people off, or people would get killed and so forth, that type of deal. So blood and money are heavily tied together, and to deny a person sex, even, especially within the marriage context, to deny a person what is due them from God's standpoint is equivalent to murder. To deny a person love, truth, repentance, forgiveness, money. You get what I'm saying? That's why, when I talk about the Agent Ash album, I talk about the ash, blood, cash. All those are forms of collection. I can take blood, I can take money, I can take that ass. You know what I mean? Particularly the women. You get what I'm saying? So, you can die. You can pay me. You get what I'm saying? Might be a combination of all three. The woman gets taken, that type of deal. It's pay up season, folks. And I don't think people really understand what the fuck I'm saying. It sounds like fluff. God has paid for the sins of the world to give us his righteousness for the sake of kingdom. Deny him that righteousness and watch what he gets out of you. Okay, now that, so I'm letting you know, that's what I preach on anyway. You see what I'm saying? Okay, especially the church. Oh, you won't take his name. Okay, so here goes. But I was glad that preacher said that because it made a lot of sense to me. And so I'm singing my heart out on this. You know what I mean? I really enjoy the song. It's very smooth and relaxed. The way that I layered the harmonies in the background, you know what I mean? Plus, so it's about 4 or 5 different things working there. You know what I mean? I've got my main track that I'm rapping on, but I'm also singing the same words behind it. She IRS, welfare to rapture. And that originally was me just giving every now and then I'll do a test track. You know what I mean? Just to see where the mic is set at, blah, blah, blah. It gives me a reference point. Plus it'll help me count bars, and then maybe I'll do my chorus first, that type of deal. That's what that was, but I liked it so much. I'll leave that in there. You know what I mean? And I eventually did it for the rest of the song too. So it came out really good. That's the song. Consider Penny. 3 16 bar verses. They use this basketball and sex and taxation in there. I mentioned Sherry Jackson. Sherry Jackson was one of the people who exposed the IRS regarding the tax code, that there is no tax code that the average American has to pay federal taxes. So that's why I said she has the facts of a Sherry Jackson, and you know what I mean. But you hear, if he was ever old, a single motherfucking dime from you. My part is when I say, you know what I mean. You can tell I'm really into it at that point. So. Fixed Game. Let's play the track first.
Marshall to the speedball scheme, running numbers, getting up in the hole, tearing tickets. Some swear it's wicked, they call me Big Papa. Then dropping property lore, adding warps to the new field property yield, though it's one. They'll never get monopoly bored. The piece for the war is a craziest sword complete. We need cheat codes and the tricks, a retreat for the day as an easier play and a frisk. I'm the name of the game, is fixed as a school for the deaf. Here's the rules and the rest. Even with the low score, the results are the same. The fool with a test and tune and the preference goal. A lay
alteration in the knit sold up. Call it a fix, they ain't fixing shit. You could be the Genesis or NES. Have a dream cast, seam last, you finishing. Little bald head bitches on the chessboard, that's just silly. Never make it to the next floor, they done killed them. The fix is in. Yeah, got it.
I remember exactly how Fix Game came together. I was out eating with my family. I think we were at an IHOP or something like that. And then I decided to take a walk after that and ended up walking to the mall. And it just so happens that I was grooving to that beat. And the place that I walked to at the mall was a gaming place, kind of like a large arcade, similar to what Main Event or Dave and Buster's is, you know what I mean? So it was that type of deal. And I just got inspired. You know, I'm always listening to my beats, and when something kind of hits, you know, I've dealt with the concept of kind of fixed game probably in some other songs. And so just being back there, I just started putting bars together. And that's, you know, Stargaze, the arcade, game to be played, sex, a marksman, dark shade, character aim, in the parks with a drive, you know what I mean? Just started going off. And it was one of those things that I really wanted to be a groove, you know, at the end. I really wanted it to, I knew for sure I wanted it to close out the album, you know what I mean? So it was never a question on where exactly it would go on the album. And then I pitched it to Killer, and he came in and he does what he does. Like I said, it's interesting, after I finished mixing it, I had messaged him and I told him, I said, you know, I never saw, you know, where we're at, you know, when we were in our 20s, I never saw us being here in our mid 40s and, you know, hitting it this hard with these bars quite like this at this age, you know what I mean, and having the chemistry and going back and forth. So yeah, the song is basically about, you know, again, I'm on my sex stuff, you know what I mean, and just talking about how, you know, all of this from my standpoint is a fixed game. So sexually, where I'm headed and how things are going is very, very deliberate in what I'm doing. The way that I approach things is very deliberate in how it's going, and no matter how you try to get around it or whatever, it's fixed, you know what I mean? It's interesting because that was something that God gave me easily 2019, 2020, when some of the stuff that I was going through prophetically and relationally was just starting to really take off. God let me know that it's a fixed game. When it comes to dealing with Him, you know, though the circumstances may look a certain way, if you are in faith and in His righteousness, it's fixed. It's always going to come out on the favorable end. It's interesting, without getting too preachy, my favorite Bible scripture is Romans 8:28, which says all things work together for the good of them who love God, who are the called according to His purpose. That's an actual fixed game scripture. It's basically telling you all things work out for the good. And so that's how I approached the track. It was something that I really, really wanted to capture with that type of sound. The beat was made in that series. I was telling you, the Ruach series. It was on that original day when I was at that Starbucks in New Orleans West End, and I always knew it was going to be on the album. So like I said, I put beat packs together, and you know, I'll listen to them, you know, consistently, and I'll add stuff, I'll take stuff out, I'll add stuff, just kind of move stuff around until I get sonically what I want to hear as a producer. And then when that spark hits, it's like, okay, let's start writing to this one. And then I start, you know, the direction of the album starts taking shape. But this was in the original. It was in the original beats, and I knew it was a solid beat even then. You know what I mean? Even before I knew what I was gonna do with it. So Definitely appreciative for Lyric Hill being a part of it. I've since done a 3D AI animation video that came out really good. You know, it's kind of themed after Super Mario Brothers, so to give it that gaming feel. And all in all, I think it really, really wraps up the album. Just to give it, you know, I think the album itself is fun all the way through, but because it's so intense, talking about sexuality and judgment and you know, regarding the interactions between me and Ash, this was a great way to basically cap off the album, but also give it, you know, a little bit more up-tempo feel to it. It's probably the most up-tempo or close to it songs on the album. So, Fixed Game. I think this project is a, if you will, like sort of a graduation piece for me. You know what I mean? A culmination of everything that I've been talking about, rapping about, even preaching about, if you follow me in that regard. It incorporates a lot of the wittiness of my bars. I've gotten much better as an MC, and I think all of my records are solid, but I've gotten much better as an MC. I've gotten much better as a producer. I've gotten much better as, you know, my recording engineering and producing the song from that standpoint, knowing how I want to, you know, add ad-libs and do different things. When it comes to mixing and mastering, there's definitely some things I've done in this record I didn't do with the other ones. And so, you know, if you're an artist, everything that you do should be progressing, even though not everything you do is going to be the same, you know what I mean? So maybe you change some things up, but you should always be improving as an artist. And I think Agent Ash, EYE is definitely an album I can say, I can look back at my very first album, which was The Feverish, and this being the sequel project to it, or you know, the third part of the trilogy, I can say, yeah. And you know, and the cool thing about it is, and I've mentioned this before, I've so crafted the story, because this is actually my life, folks, and in a very prophetic sense, but I can tell you some things why this is going this way. I didn't know it starting off. When I made the Justified Journey of a Nasty Nomad, I didn't know God was doing this as a prophetic model, and if you will, prophetic direction, guiding me prophetically. You know, maybe I don't say it enough, but my records, they're not just me putting prophetic things in them of where I'm at. They're actually telling me prophetic things of where I'm going. And I don't want to get too deep with it, but there's things that I'm learning from God that I put in the records that I have an intent. And it's not like I'm not aware of God working in my life and through my music, but I'm not always aware of the fullness of the content that's coming out of it. The Agent Ash album is different from the Feverish in that I'm more aware, oh, this is a thing. Like, this is what God is. He's using my creativity for me to prophesy where I'm headed. He's actually showing me this, and I'm doing it as, you know, I'm enjoying making music and being an artist and so forth. And yet it's the prophetic value in what he's doing in me and concerning the end times and so forth is very real. And so I don't let either of the two sides of that, the creative versus the prophetic, get in the way of what God wants to do with either of them. You know what I mean? So if there's something God, like I said, Ash had me to switch the beat packs. So you're hearing what would have been another album sonically, you know, production-wise. And so it's things like that. I allow for the Spirit of God to minister to me, and yet it's still very much a part of the creative aspect. You know what I mean? There may be some things that I'm unaware of that God had me to do, and I just did from a creative standpoint, and that would be one of them, but from a creative standpoint, that actually has greater prophetic value. You know, would the Agent Ash have sounded like this from a lyrical standpoint if I had written over other beats? Probably not, because the concepts a lot of times come as the result of catching a vibe from the beat. You know what I mean? So it's different. Like I say, I don't want to spook people out. one of the things I've learned about spiritual life, especially mine, is that it's so real to me, and I've been living it for years. So me talking actively about God and what he's doing, and you hear me talking about Ash and the spiritual relationship there and how she guides me in this and that will only sound weird to people who it's too taboo for them to grasp, or they don't believe in, that type of stuff. But it's very real to me. You know what I mean? It's very, very real to me. And so when I bring stuff up, it will sound spooky to a person who's not living this life. And I don't mean specifically my life, but I mean a very deeply spiritual, communicating with and through the Spirit of God type of life. If you don't live that life, you wouldn't understand it. You know what I mean? But that wraps it up, folks. Agent Ash, SheIRS, is only available at the moment. So this may change after this gets, down the road. But it's only available on YouTube through a page called _the Undergrind. And so it was just something that I felt like at the last minute, close to the last couple of days, Ash was like, no, we're going to do something different with this. So it's not on Bandcamp, and it's available for free. The instrumentals for the album are on my Bandcamp, and you can get to that through www.NastyOnTheBeats.com. That's my general website, and it'll take you to the rest. It'll take you to my Bandcamp. So great project, definitely one I enjoyed putting together, producing, recording, writing. I had a lot of fun with it, and I'm really enjoying listening to it. It's a solid project all the way through that is feeding me in so many different ways. I would like to tell you just from the sonic level of it being music, and just enjoying it from the musical aspect. But I'm actually, like I said, prophetically, I'm actually learning a lot and getting a lot out of what I put into the album. You know what I mean? Even as an MC, some of the things that I've done with figurative language and metaphors and punchlines and so forth, I've definitely developed. And it's just one of those things. It's like, how they say, coming of age project. It's one of those type of deals. And so very proud of it. Hopefully people enjoy listening to it. I'm going to keep putting it out there and promoting it. As of now, I've already started working on some other albums. I have at least, I would say, 4 that are literally on my plate in front of me that I've been actively writing for. And so, what the rest of this, we're in June of 2026 right now. What the rest of this year looks like, I don't know. But I'm excited about what's to come. You know what I mean? And hopefully I'm gonna continue to do these track for tracks because I really enjoy them. If nobody else gets anything from them, I love doing things that document my progress and things that I've done, and going back and listening to it and so forth. So hang around. It's been another episode of Track for Track. Again, thank you to everybody who was involved with putting this project together. Shout out to Lyric Hill and the Dialogue for being on this album. They actually, so you don't just hear my voice. Grateful to the lovely Ash, and then my homie Kikala Diallo. I'm gonna always shout him out because, like I said, he was one of those people who's stayed on me about getting back into music at a time when I was serious about remaining out, and yet he's still very supportive now that I'm in it. And not only that, but he also, he's, if you will, an advisor. You know what I mean? And there's certain things that he's helped me out with AI, definitely, but also even musically. He gives me suggestions on certain things. I'll send him stuff early and so forth. So grateful to those individuals. Shout out Mr. J, who's also been very supportive through this process and so forth. And not trying to leave anybody out, but particularly in this album, those individuals. And we're going to keep it rolling, track for track. www.NastyOnTheBeats.com, baby, holla.